Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me this afternoon for an introduction to Seneca and our interactive, personalized, and differentiated learning platform. Just going to ask you to drop me a comment in the comment bar just with a simple yes, maybe your name as well, just to let me know that you can hear me okay. So in today's session, just going to look at taking you end to end through the setup process. So how to log in, create an account as a teacher, how you can then create your class, and then start engaging with your pupils by creating assignments and how you can report on those assignments. And then what we'll do is we'll take a jump into the student platform so you can see what it's like as a student learner to navigate your assignments and independent learning. Fantastic. I can see your comments coming through that you can hear me loud and clear. So as you can see from my screen share, this is what you would navigate to when you have searched for Seneca Learning or from your bookmarks. And what we've looked to do is remove as much friction as possible. So we have there our single sign-on options. So whether you are a Microsoft or a Google school, your staff and pupils alike can use that single sign-on. I've just seen that question, Corinne, I can see you've asked whether there'll be a recording. If you like this video at the end, yes, it will. You'll be able to come back to it on YouTube. So looking at that login page, you can continue with your Google sign-in, which is what I'm going to do. Now, because I'm only sharing the one window, you can't see the pop-up, but of course the normal manner as a Google user, it will take me straight through using that single sign-on. And this is where you will see your profile. So you can see here, Mr. Clark Smith, and I have one class in action there. So the first process I'm going to walk you through is how you create a class as a teacher. And lo and behold, this add button here, this is exactly what you want to be clicking on to create a class. So demo class 1A, create class. There we go, as simple as that. And now you've got the tools and the menu options available for you to add the courses that are specific to your specialty, or if you are Key Stage 2 across the spectrum of content that we have. Now, I'm going to be looking at this from a GCSE perspective, Key Stage 4, so I'm going to look at the course content that we have. So I've navigated down this left-hand nav bar to courses. I'm going to add a course. And listen, you could get overwhelmed when you navigate here because we have thousands of courses available to you. There are two means of managing to navigate this. You can either search directly through your search bar at the top, or use these filters to drill down to the specific level that you're looking for. So I'm going to navigate through GCSEs. I'm going to then choose a subject. I'm going to come down here to French. And you can see as well that we are associated with all the leading exam boards, International Baccalaureate, National Curriculum papers, etc. So you can, whether it's, you can see this in French here, we've got the AQA, EdExcel, EduQuest, CIE, etc. So you can be extremely tailored with what material you're looking to put in front of your pupils. So I'm seeing some questions coming in. I will be answering those in a moment, some really good questions. Don't you worry if it's too early. At the moment, just looking at bringing some course material into my class. So I'm going to take both the AQA GCSE and the Diagnostic Misconceptions, and I'm adding those courses to my class. And as you can see here, we've got these step counts to full setup. I've got two courses. Now I need to look at assignments. So I'm going to add an assignment for my class. We're going to take that GCSE content, and what you'll be presented with is that full course material, all 7 units of it. Now, I'm going to open up Identity and Culture and select those 9 subsections. And what you'll see here at the top, it will take approximately half an hour to 45 minutes for your pupils to be able to complete that. So that was, I suppose, first week back after the summer, maybe a little lengthy. I'm going to take away a couple of those units. to give them a 20-minute homework assignment. So what I'm asking the children to do is look through describing yourself. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 through to family. Now, as a teacher, rather than just assigning it blind, you can preview that course content. So this will show you, without the requirement to answer the questions, exactly what that course material will look like. So you can see in our carousel here, the vocabulary introductions, translations, etc. So this will be the basis of the questioning that will follow. You'll see multiple question styles, typically enhanced with animation, GIFs, and humor. So we've got multiple choice, we have missing word, wrong word. So it's a range of styles to engage active memory retention of that content. So I'm happy with that content. I'm going to close that off, and I'm going to assign that activity. I'm going to choose that as first week back. Now, start date will always be the day that you're looking at. We cannot post anything sort of retrospectively. The due date defaults to a week. Our recommendation is that for active, responsive, and valuable use of the platform, we're looking at a weekly or fortnightly assignment of tasks. But it might be that you have multiple classes, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. So I'm going to set that for 1 week hence and create. So this gives you the means of sharing the assignment with your class. Now, depending on what your environment is, you can share that directly to Teams, directly to Google Classroom, via email, or you can copy and paste a link directly to those pupils in any manner that you see fit. So I've closed that off, I've shared the activity, and this is where you would then come back to see the summary. We have the start date, end date. You can follow this up and see who's completed, how many are late or incomplete. And as the scores start coming through, you can see the average scores for your students. Now, nothing's populated there. We've got no pupils assigned, which is our next task. So we have our course material. We've got our assignment set. Now you need to add pupils. Much in the same way as we saw with the assignment, you can send that invitation code via email, through Teams, Google Classroom, or indeed using a class code, which if I click on that link, you can see nice and handy, ready to print, these wallet-sized access QRs that will allow your pupils to access their class from their own device. Now, there was a question from Solange, just looking to see whether you can archive classes. Absolutely you can, particularly this time of year. You're coming through new cohort. You don't necessarily want to delete all the data and classes from last year. You'll likely at some point, probably in the next 4 or 5 days, be asked by SLT to provide an insight and a deep dive into already those early progression metrics. So you can archive classes out of the way. So what I've done there is I've just clicked that checkbox and archive. I've archived my class, so that would have been, what's that, 2020-21. But within your archive classes, you can still pull that data up. You can still see that class. I can still go into it as usual, but I can also unarchive it if necessary. So if you do need to bring that class back, it might be that you have an intervention group that you are looking to continue at a later date within this academic year. So that was our classes and a setup. I'm just going to look at the comments. If there are any questions at this juncture on accessing the platform, signing in, creating a class, creating class content and assignments, just drop your comment and your question in that comment box, and I will do my best to answer it. Question there about, let me see, this one here. James, thank you very much. Let me see, just show your question there. Are we covering Seneca Analytics this session, or is this basic functions? For the purposes of this demonstration, we are looking at Seneca as a free platform. I will, however, be touching on some of the reporting that is included, and I will give you an insight into those premium features as well. So James, absolutely, I will start to cover some of that. If you are a paid premium user, then I can absolutely share my contact details with you, and we can have a separate conversation to delve deeply into the premium functionality. Okay. So another question here, really good question. Does Seneca link to Sims to get class lists? Absolutely. One of the features that we'll be looking at for Seneca Premium, and that of course links to the previous question around analytics, because that way, once you've got your pupil data enhanced through Sims or whatever your MIS system integration is, we can then report at multiple levels of hierarchy and pupil segmentation. I will show a brief example later on in this session as to what that reporting functionality would look like. Okay, so we have assigned our classes. I'm just going to show you what it would look like if you have multiple classes. So I've just jumped into another demo account. So you can see here we have a teacher who's got a lot of activity going on. I've now got this year 11 group, and we're going to look at some of those insights. So again, remember, this is the entry level. This is the Seneca, which is free to all. I'm going to look at the insights. I'm going to select the sections. I should have said during that, the course here, you've got your list of all course content. So I'm going to choose some content which has been completed. So I'm going to stick with that biology, select sections. I'm not going to do all the data because I don't want to spend ages bringing up that data. And what you can see, we've now populated this. Don't worry, these are just fictitious names. I'm not showing any live pupil data here, but what you can see is their average score and each of those units that they have completed. Now, where we have NA, that could well be because as we're providing an interactive and differentiated learning pathway, some pupils will see additional questions based on their strengths and weaknesses. So we will divert users who have achieved a higher score much faster through their learning pathway, and those who are seeing incorrect answers will have a revisit and a reintroduction to that content to reinforce those gaps within their memory, or should I say, reinforce that insight and learning to fill those gaps in their short and long-term memory. You can hover over these unit designations to see exactly which unit that pupil was scoring against. Up at the top, you can control what you're seeing. So what we're seeing by default is the average score, but you can filter that by first attempt score, best score, worst score, average score, the number of attempts, which is interesting because what we recommend is that teachers advise their pupils to keep going with that particular assignment or that piece of course content until they're achieving at least 90%. This way, you're more confident that they're coming into assessment periods or lessons, if it was a pre-teach, with as much information and retention of that content as possible. So you can then drill down to see how many attempts it took. So here we have Yassim took 5 attempts versus Felton with 1 attempt. And then you can see their best scores. So we can look at those 2 individuals, 5 and 1. So indeed, very little between them, but it took Yassim 4 more attempts to work through that course to achieve an equitable score there. You can open up the date range, of course, so you can look at your class for all time, last year, last 30 days, etc. Of course, with all our reporting, the data can be exported to CSV. We know what it's like. You will, at the drop of a hat, be asked to report into SLT, whether that's individual pupil progress or whole school analysis. You'll be able to take this data and feed that into management meetings or subject leadership meetings. Just take a moment to see if there are any questions at this stage regarding the reporting at insight and assignment scoring levels. Let's give it another moment in case there's anything coming to mind, and then I'm going to jump across to our student platform. So as you can see here, I've moved across. Nice highlight at the top of the bar to identify exactly where we are within the system. And this is what your pupils will see when they log in. Now, you have your recent courses, so we can see that this pupil has been assigned a broad spectrum of curricular topic work. We've got biology, we've got English and history A-level. So not your typical pupil profile here. When you scroll down, you can see the next assignment due. I'm just going to click on See All here. So this will open up. So a pupil has clear control over the assignments that are upcoming. They can look at past assignments, which will show them exactly how they fared, whether there are any elements that they didn't complete. They can retry, so we can see that that pupil can look to augment their results, sort of attain higher scores by revisiting that particular piece of coursework. So just going to go back to my home screen. And this is really interesting here, this memory palace. This is the global gamification and sort of competitive nature to the learning environment. So every pupil can create an anonymized username, and that will see them compete across users across the globe. So each time they complete a piece of coursework or independent learning, they will be granted a score and be assigning their memories to these stickers. So each time you complete a course, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment, you can choose somewhere in the world to pin that memory to. So what we like to think of is, if we think back to good old Benedict Cumberbatch and Sherlock Holmes on the BBC, of course, he would always store all his clues across his memory palace and be able to navigate that palace to those individual memories. Similar sort of structure here, we're looking at ensuring that we can tag those memories to an image. And of course, as I say, the leaderboard. Now this is a test account, so you're not going to see a full leaderboard here, but it means that they can compete not at just at a school level, but global level to be the very best within that particular subject. So let's see, what is it like to actually complete some coursework for a pupil? Just going to drop in and do one that I can feel a little bit more confident in, rather than A-level biology. So we've got different ways that they can approach it. We've seen how you would assign sort of a homework or a structured assignment structure. We can also look to navigate pupils through wrong answers. So once they've completed that task, they can go back and look at that course content and focus on where they made missteps, where they've got gaps in their understanding. And we can also look at smart learning. So this is a way of approaching the course content, which will take all of our aggregated data and understanding of pupil learning and furnish them with content in a manner that is going to hit their retention curve, or sort of counter the forgetting curve of their understanding in the best possible way. So I'm going to just work through as if I was working through independently. I'm going to start with describing myself. How do I want to learn? I'm not going to do that. That one's partially completed. I'm going to start with friends. Just have to move that. So as we saw when we previewed course content earlier, you're given this carousel, which will introduce the pupil to the course content, the core vocabulary. One of the key elements that we need to look at is on the right-hand side here, we have typing speed. Now I've turned that off, but it would typically start with a typing speed of 1. And that, of course, gives it that visual stimulation to follow the content as it is produced on screen. And you can speed that up to 2.5 speed. And the question is then, okay, that's all very good for sort of the adaptive learner, but if you are EAL or if you are potentially a SEN pupil, is that going to be aligned with their learning needs? Well, you can turn off the adapted speed so it actually is appearing as they refresh the page. And to fit with that, whether it's English as a foreign language or educational learning differences, what we are not doing is time constraining the content or the completion of these questions. So the pupil has their time in order to navigate the content, answer the questions in the manner that best works for them, rather than being under a time duress. So I'm looking through this content. I'm looking at this about my best friend, my friends as a whole, and potentially my partner. So let's have a look. We're starting here. So I've got a missing translation here. Now I didn't pay attention, so I can always navigate back up to the course content, and I'm going to look through, and I'm going to see, aha, un voisin, a neighbor. So it's female low, so I'm just going to type in une voisin. There we go. So 1 out of 1. And now a female friend. So I'm going to type my answer in here. Oh, didn't get that one right. So you'll see what will happen is I will be brought back to that content later in the flow. Because I missed the E off the end, didn't I? There we go. So faire. So I'm just going to complete question 3. There we go. And now I'm being introduced to new vocabulary, looking at how do we describe our friends. Going to continue. Okay, I've got that one wrong. Continue again. So I got that one wrong, and you see the follow-up question was an opportunity to practice that vocabulary again. Continuing through. And as we progress through, up at the top, we have the slider here that will demonstrate to the individual how much further I have left within my course. So I'm just going to quit that session for now and bring us back to home. So that was, granted, I know this is a whistle-stop view of Seneca and both the directions of use, be it teacher or student use. Hopefully it's given you an appreciation of how you might be able to employ Seneca within your own school, within your own department or classroom. As you can see, we've still got a few minutes on the clock. So any questions that you might have, do please let me know. What I'm going to do, just in follow-up to the questions around analytics and MIS connectivity, I'm just going to open up, if you bear with me, just going to find you an example report that will show you the level of detail that will be exported should you be moving to a premium account. So what you can see here, this is the output we have. We've linked our Seneca account with our MIS, so you can see we have these 4 levels of granularity. Total senior leadership team snapshot, so we can see assignments by department, completion rates, so again, looking to understand sort of adherence to homework policy, average scores, number of active pupils, total learning time. Because we've got that alignment with MIS, we can understand exactly where pupils fit within your target groups. So whether you're looking at PP, SEN, free school meals, etc., you can really drill down into what those individualized scores are, what the share of pupil number is, total learning time across those individual cohorts, and then by subject. Student activity, this would be the full download, so you can absolutely see it from cohort down to individual pupil level. And because we all know that ultimately there is a degree of oversight, we can look at it from a teacher standpoint to understand which departments are fully engaging with that platform. Now, I've just realized, apologies, that report was not within the screen share, so I'm just going to change that view so I can come back to it. My apologies for that. Thank you to those that noticed that I was on the wrong footing there. So I'm just going to realign myself. There we go. So let me just go back through that again. I know you had the audio, but just to give you the visuals. So the 4 levels of granularity, we have SLT snapshot. I'm going to take myself out of the picture there so you get a clearer view. So we have here by subject, total assignments, completion rates, completed on time, scores on sessions. Then, as we said, looking at pupil groups. So we've got our PP, EAL, SEN, etc. So you can see scores by share. So really nicely feeding into whether it be cohort pupil progress, individual pupil progress, departmental progress, or subject progress. Student activities down to the individual user logon. And finally, the last one, which I was just saying, was by teacher activity. So you can understand exactly what the performance per department is, how many assignments are being sent out, what the completion rates are, etc. So I just take that off now. Hopefully that was I know I said whistle stop before, but hopefully that was a means of getting a really good understanding and initial view of Seneca Learning, the platform, the way in which we initiate the learning and those pathways for individual pupils, and as teachers, how best to create accounts, your classes, and ensure that you're getting the right content in front of the right pupils. Now, with a few moments to go, if there are any questions, do of course pop them in the comment box. To those who have asked it earlier, don't forget to like the video so you can come back to it later, share it with colleagues, or remind them that we are going to be live at midday and 4 for the next week or so. So there will be plenty more sessions for you to be able to come to. Okay, well, listen, just couple of thank yous, which is great. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm just going to drop in now and pop my email address in the comments. So should there be any requirement for a more bespoke walkthrough, or if you're looking to advance your school use into a premium environment, do please drop me an email. More than happy to make time to speak to you, department leads, senior leads, as and when makes best sense for yourselves. So, some questions just coming through, sneaking through. Can we assign a task to all classes at once? Absolutely, you can. What I'll do, let me just pull up my screen. So, share screen, window. Here we are. So I'm just going to go back into the teacher view, classes. Here I go. I've got assignments. I'm going to add an assignment. I'm going to add a biology assignment. I'm going to put these units on half an hour, assign. I'm doing that to all pupils there. Choose an assignment name. Bear with me a moment, everybody, because that's a really useful question. Let me just see if I can find the right level of data to show you that, because you can assign to multiple classes. Bear with me, so I'm just going to create. So I've gone into my new class, added the course material. I'm going to add an assignment, GCSE refresher. apologies. I'll need to, by all means, use my email address, because what I'll need to do is find the right flow to demonstrate. I don't want to keep you all online, but you absolutely can have that flexibility. So if you are running multiple classes, you will absolutely be able to throw that assignment to all users, and you can then also control it at a class level. So it might be that you're teaching one lesson today, another class tomorrow, but you can assign them both the same homework but with different start and end times. Hopefully, I know you won't be able to see it directly, but hopefully that will give you an understanding once you have got that class creation within your system. Super. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to join me this afternoon. I hope you all have a smooth return to school and that your pupils are fit and well and excited to be back with you. I'm sure they will be. And I will be here should you need me at any time. Just use that email address. Thank you, guys. All the very best.